$97 trillion market cap for Bitcoin. Is it in the cards in the next 10 years? We have to dive into this. We've got some incredible signal. We got Donald Trump talking right now. We're going to jump right on into it. I am just getting this retweeted over on @Academy BitLab and over obviously on Kellam and on Rumble. So shout out to everybody that is tuned in. Big love to each and every one of you. Hope you're all doing very well. Altcoin market is still got some pumpage going on in the altcoin market, and we also are seeing a lot of signals setting up right now we've got to pay attention to. So let me get this retweeted really quick, and we will get into this as we speak. Hope you're all doing well. Retweet, go, and let's get into it right now. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Let's dive right on into it because we're seeing Bitcoin see some price action move into the upside, but it's right at the bottom side of this range here. If we cannot reclaim that, we may still be having that retest a little bit further down to test into the 97 to 98K region, which would not be the end of the world. In fact, it would be very bullish to come down and have this be the bouncing point. It would still be very bullish for price to lose that a little bit further and come down into the mid 90s, $95,000. But let's dive into what Donald Trump is saying right now, and we could talk about what's happening in this market here in a second.
A lot of money and a lot of jobs, and now we're tariffing them, and it's at a level that nobody's seen. It's a level that is making us a very much different country and a very different Republican Party. We won a tremendous victory in November. We won all 7 swing states, the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. The Electoral College, we won by 312 to 226. Remember, they said, well, we could get to 270. We got to 312. That's a big difference. And very importantly, we won counties throughout the United States, 2,660. Moment we started.
Just so you know, we are going to be looking at Bitcoin, altcoins, markets, signals. We got some key things, but I think he's going to be talking a little bit about what's going on with the economy, the trade war, and some of this investment that's coming in from Saudi Arabia. So let's listen on Trump for just a little bit. We'll be getting into the charts in a moment.
He's putting in $500 billion. TSMC is investing. Where is Jensen, by the way? Where is he? He's standing here. Where is he? I just saw that. Thank you very much, Jensen. I mean, Tim Cook isn't here, but you are. What a job you've done. He said he's got 99% of the chip market. I don't know. That's a big, that's not easy to beat, but what a job you've done. Thank you. We are proud to have you in our country. You know that. Thank you for the investment. TSMC is investing $200 billion, and with this trip, we're adding over $1 trillion more in terms of investment into our country and buying our products. And, you know, nobody makes military equipment like us. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything. Best submarines, by the way. Most lethal weapon in the world. In addition to purchases of $142 billion of American-made military equipment by our great Saudi partners, the largest ever. This week there are multi-billion-dollar commercial deals with Amazon, Oracle, AMD. They're all here. Uber, Qualcomm, Johnson & Johnson, and many, many more. So I want to congratulate everybody. So many great business executives, many of you, most of you I know. And they're coming in, you know, about a month ago. They weren't that happy when they saw me. And now they're saying, sir, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. It's amazing what a rising market will do. Oh, it's going to get a lot higher. In fact, I told people 5 weeks ago, this is a great time to buy. I got criticized for that. Now they don't criticize me anymore. People should have listened.
Who bought the dip?
It's going to go a lot higher. You're going to see, we've never had anything like this happen. It's an explosion of investment and jobs, and great companies are coming in. Never seen anything like it. There's no better place to make a future or make a fortune, or do anything, frankly, than what we have in the United States of America under a certain president, Donald J. Trump. I have the right attitude. I have the same attitude that the people in the front row, second row, third row have. As you get back, perhaps they start to wane a little bit in terms of their view. But they understand, and we're doing what a lot of smart people would do. And we're not necessarily being politically correct. You saw what we did yesterday with healthcare. We've cut our healthcare by 50 to 90%. You're going to see drugs and pharmaceuticals come down at numbers that nobody has ever seen. And drugs, pharmaceuticals, we think will be dropping. And it will be a redistribution of costs with other nations, which really took advantage of a very nice group of people that ran our country. But not only is this a time of incredible excitement in the United States, it's also an exhilarating period right here in the Arabian Peninsula. Beautiful place, by the way. Beautiful place. Exactly. Thank you.
Guys, we're going to be getting into the charts and TA and
Exactly
signals here in just a couple minutes.
this month, I stood in this very room and looked forward to a future in which the nations of this region would drive the forces of terrorism and extremism, drive them right out of existence, and take your place among the proudest, most prosperous, most successful nations anywhere in the world as leaders of a modern and rising Middle East. So exciting. So exciting. Mohammed, you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Huh? Just thinking. What a job. He tosses and turns like some of us. Tosses and turns all night. How do I make it even better all night? It's the ones that don't toss and turn. They're the ones that will never take you to the promised land, won't they? But you have done some job. True. But critics doubted that it was possible what you've done. But over the past 8 years, Saudi Arabia has proved the critics totally wrong. The transformation that has occurred even by these incredible business leaders. I mean, you had the biggest leaders in business anywhere in the world standing right before us. But the transformation that has occurred under the leadership of King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed has been truly extraordinary. Such a thing has, I don't think, ever happened before. I've never seen anything at that scale happen before. And I guess, you know, maybe you could say the United States is doing pretty well, too, you know, but I don't think too many people have seen that happen before. Majestic skyscrapers, the towers that I see, the difference between now and 8 years ago. And 8 years ago was very impressive, but the towers that I see rising, some of the exhibits that I was shown by Mohammed, what I've seen there is just an amazing, it's an amazing process, amazing genius of so many people, architecture, but I have a feeling I know where many of those ideas came from. Happens to be sitting right in this room right before me, but the towers and all of the different, I've seen a lot of different towers. I didn't think there's any version of a tower that I haven't seen in one form or another. I just passed 4 exhibits. I have never seen anything like any of them. So it's going to be very exciting.
Guys, we're going to be jumping into TA and some charts and signals here.
Among the ancient wonders of a growing and exciting city. It's really amazing. Riyadh is becoming not just a seat of government, but a major business, cultural, and high-tech capital of the entire world. The World Cup is here. Johnny, just stand up, John. Johnny. Thank you, Johnny. Great job, Johnny, great job. But the World Cup and the World Expo will soon be coming here, just like the World Cup is coming to the United States. It's going to be really exciting next year. The engines of Formula One racing now roar through the streets of Jeddah. in a historic milestone. Other industries recently surpassed oil. Think of it, all of your other industries now have surpassed oil. I don't know if a lot of people will understand what that means. It's so big, to make up a majority of the Saudi economy for the very first time ever. So think of that. Other industries are now bigger even than oil, which is always going to be a big monster. It's a big one. But that's a great tribute to you and economic development properly used. In other cities throughout the peninsula, places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Doha, Muscat, the transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly. And it's something only you could do. You achieved a modern miracle, the Arabian way. That's a good way. Today, the Gulf nations have shown this entire region a path towards safe and orderly societies with improving quality of life, flourishing economic growth, expanding personal freedoms, and increasing responsibilities on the world stage. After so many decades of conflict, finally it is within our grasp to reach the future that generations before us could only dream about, a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement right here in the Middle East. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening. I guess, you know, the people that are here can't even really appreciate it because you see it happening, and it's when you come to a place that you haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years that it's even more incredible. When I left office just over 4 years ago, that future seemed almost impossible, what you've done. Together we had obliterated the killers of ISIS. We wiped them out, terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. We had healed the divide in the Gulf Cooperation Council. It's a very big deal. And united the nations of the region to stand against the enemies of all civilization. We'd imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran and starved the regime of resources to fund terror. They were unable to fund anything because they had no money left. They had no money. But the new administration came in and let them have a lot of money, and you saw what happened. It was not money well spent. And with the historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do, but will soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. But it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us, and you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people that have fought so hard for the Middle East, and I really think it's going to be something special, but you'll do it in your own time, and that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. When I left office, the only thing still standing between this region and its unbelievable potential was a small group of rogue actors and violent thugs seeking constantly to drag the Middle East backward and into havoc, mayhem, and indeed into war. Unfortunately, instead of confronting these destructive forces, the last U.S. administration chose to enrich them and empower them and give them billions and billions of dollars. The Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country, by the way, spurned our most trusted and longstanding Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide, one of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to, and we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative, greatest representative. And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, you know? Too much. I like you too much. Great guy. They lifted sanctions on Iran in exchange for getting nothing, and sent the regime tens of billions of dollars to fund terror and death all over the world. And they laughed at him. They laughed at our leader. And they're still laughing at our leader. They thought him a fool. And they made nothing but trouble ever since, including the funding of October 7th, one of the worst days ever in the history of the Middle East. Horrible day. Biden removed the Houthis from the list of foreign terrorist organizations, even while missiles and drones were being launched right here at your beautiful city of Riyadh, and launched at ships if they happened to be sailing in the wrong location. The Biden administration's extreme weakness and gross incompetence derailed progress toward peace, destabilized the region, and put at risk everything we had worked so hard to build together. And when you think of the great achievements that you've made, to do it in light of a pretty hostile administration, an administration that was not a believer, it makes your achievements even greater. Makes them even greater, you know that. But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad, now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm. Our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions of great people. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. There could be no sharper contrast with the path you have pursued on the Arabian Peninsula than the disaster unfolding right across in the Gulf of Iran. Think of that. They wanted to name it that. I said, they're not going to let them do that. Do you mind if I stop that? I stopped it. We're not going to let that happen. While you have been constructing the world's tallest skyscrapers in Jeddah and Dubai, Tehran's 1979 landmarks are collapsing into rubble and dust. They had it going for a little while under a much different system, but those buildings are largely falling apart, falling down, while you're building some of the world's biggest and most incredible infrastructure projects, buildings, all sorts of things you're building that nobody's ever even seen before. Iran's decades of neglect and mismanagement have left the country plagued by rolling blackouts lasting for hours a day.
I knew I was muted. I was talking to TJ.
While
We're going to jump in because it's getting boring. We're going to jump into charts here in just a second. Get some coins in that side chat right now.
Farmland into dry deserts as their corrupt water mafia, it's called it the water mafia, causes droughts and empty riverbeds. They get rich, but they don't let the people have any of it. And then, of course, there's the key difference at the root of it all. While the Arab states have focused on becoming pillars of regional stability and world commerce, Iran's leaders have focused on stealing their people's wealth to fund terror and bloodshed abroad. Most tragic of all, they have dragged down an entire region with them. Countless lives were lost in the Iranian effort to maintain a crumbling regime in Syria. Look at what happened with Syria. In Lebanon, their Hezbollah proxies have pillaged the hopes of a nation whose capital, Beirut, was once called the Paris of the Middle East. Can you imagine? All of this misery and so much more was entirely avoidable, absolutely avoidable. And Mohammed knew that. He knew that. Smart people knew that. If only the Iranian regime had focused on building their nation up instead of tearing the region down. Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies. I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future, but will never allow America and its allies to be threatened with terrorism or nuclear attack. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever. The time is right now for them to choose. Right now, we don't have a lot of time to wait. Things are happening at a very fast pace. They're happening right here. They're happening at a very fast pace. So they have to make their move right now, one way or the other. Make your move. As I said in my inaugural address, my greatest hope is to be a peacemaker and to be a unifier. I don't like war. We have the greatest military, by the way, in the history of the world. You know, I rebuilt our military in my first 4 years and rebuilt it into the most powerful military there is. And you saw that when I knocked out ISIS in 3 weeks. People said it would take 4 years, 5 years. I did it. We did it in 3 weeks. Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully. And they both have very powerful leaders, very strong leaders, good leaders, smart leaders. And it all stopped. Hopefully it'll remain that way, but it all stopped. I was very proud of Marco Rubio and all of the people that worked so hard. Marco, stand up. What a great job you did on that. Thank you, J.D. Vance, Marco. The whole group worked with you, but it was a great job. And I think they're actually getting along. Maybe we can even get them together a little bit, Marco, where they go out and have a nice dinner together. Wouldn't that be nice? But we've come a long way, and it could be, millions of people could have died from that conflict that started off small and was getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. I've also been working relentlessly to end the terrible bloodshed between Russia and Ukraine, and very importantly, talks are being held in Turkey later this week, probably on Thursday, and they could produce some pretty good results. Our people are going to be going there. Marco's going to be going there. Others are going to be going, and we'll see if we can get it done. 5,000 people, young people for the most part, soldiers from Ukraine, soldiers from Russia. They're not from here, and they're not from the United States, but they're souls. They're souls. I think usually, mostly, they're young, beautiful souls that left their parents waving goodbye, left their brothers and sisters. Goodbye, I'll see you soon. And they got blown to pieces. 5,000 on average a week are dying. And people are dying elsewhere in the region, but tremendous numbers like we haven't seen since World War II are dying. And I want to stop it. I want to stop it. It's a horrible war. Would have never happened if I were president. That's a war that would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened if I were president, because Iran had no money to pay Hamas or anybody else. They had no money. They were not looking to take care of them. They had to take care of themselves. They had no money. We stopped their oil effectively with the embargoes and sanctions. But let me take this opportunity to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the constructive role that you've played in facilitating the Ukraine talks. And it really is, you've been amazing. You've made everything available to us. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if we get that settled, we'll pay a special tribute to what you've done. You really did lay a great groundwork. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Crypto. Say crypto. Say Bitcoin. Say trade.
The West should not be dragging itself backward into another endless war in Europe, yet another endless war. We should stop the killing and work together to address the biggest long-term threats as one unbeatable team. Think of us as an unbeatable team. I mean, when you look at what you've done here, that's much more difficult than stopping stupidity. Think of it. It's stupidity.
All right. Looks like he's not really talking much about the economy or anything else anymore. He talked about the investments and stuff. But let's get in to some crypto charts, signals, and break things down before we wrap this out. Bitcoin heating up for a move to the upside on the small time frame chart, especially following what we just saw from Donald Trump discussing what's going on with the investments and everything over in Saudi Arabia, the ties they have going on there. But there are some key signals that we need to pay attention to. First off, looking at this on the 3-minute chart, as we were just following along with Trump's speech during that at the Saudi Investment Forum, we saw this large inverse head and shoulder play out, and we are starting a breakout right now as we speak. He talked a little bit about basically curtailing and ending some of these wars that are going on, also strengthening the alliances of what's happening in the Middle East so we can have more commerce and more peace rather than conflict and war. So we are seeing a little bit of a breakout right here. This is a very small time frame. So let's go ahead and zoom out on this and look at the 8-hour time frame right now. Let's go ahead and delete this right here. The key point that we're watching right now, this breakout that we could be seeing on the small time frame, is the fact that the price action did break down to the downside. Is this a bear trap? Currently, we're on the cusp of one or the other, a bear trap here or a bull trap up into this known level of previous support, which is now resistance directly overhead, especially if we look at this a little bit more zoomed in on the 2-hour chart. We're right on the cusp of seeing what's going to happen here. If this does reject, we will likely see Bitcoin at minimum come down and test about the 102.8 level, which is the top of this range. If that's lost, then it's going to look more like we're going to potentially bounce here at the 107 and then make a little bit more of a move to the downside, somewhere right about the $100,000 mark, or even down here into this 97, 98,000, or somewhere in the region. Let's actually draw a box in the region that we're watching, which would essentially be this region right here. We have a horizontal level of support here, another horizontal level of support just a little bit above that, but also this rising level. Let's go ahead and zoom out. This rising level of support that goes back to August. This is the yen carry trade meltdown right here where the market had a pretty big spill to the downside, but this marks the support all the way up through here. Kind of rejection in the zone. We had a bit of a bounce here. Are we going to test back into this 95K region? It's looking less likely, but I wouldn't count anything out. In fact, that would be a great washout of open interest, getting the market super healthy. If this does bounce here, not have a move further down that just scares everybody. But we have to also pay attention to the fact that we have this major level of horizontal support that comes all the way through here. So this would kind of be my line in the sand of the bullishness. You can have a pullback that is bullish. Meaning that if this comes down and bounces somewhere in here, that'd be great. But if we find this support somewhere in here, still very bullish. Finding support here would still be bullish, but you're starting to get a little bit out of the context of that bullish sentiment. However, this still would be much higher lows if that were to take place. So let's just keep an eye on that. I'm of the opinion that if we do have a bounce, it'll be somewhere in the 98K or above zone, but that will be ultimately great opportunity. The question is going to be here: is this going to be the first time that we find support above basically 100K or above? This is the area that everybody's watching. Are we going to finally turn the page of breaking beyond $100,000 Bitcoin? And if we do get a pullback, having the price action have some sort of bounce above this zone before making that next leg to the upside. Let's run through some of the things that we wanted to look at today. We're seeing on the weekly chart, all green. On the daily chart, kind of mixed bag, but mostly green. On the hourly chart, getting a nice bounce, kind of a small bounce, but nice bounce for the most part across the board, other than Crow, which is crypto.com. When we're looking at the markets here, let's actually refresh this. It was at 3.34. Now we're at $3.35 trillion. And just zooming down the 7-day performance, we're seeing basically all green. Of course, we got a little red right here on USDC, but look at this. It's right at $1, right where it should be. So that's basically nonsensical to even look at this. We're seeing green basically across the board. Leo, also a stable token, not a stable token. Leo, which is Eunice, it's 884, 882, 862. I can read, but look at this. The reason I was saying stable, my mind went there, is because we had a deviation up, deviation below, and this is basically right back at equilibrium. But we're seeing green, dominantly across the board. So this is good. What did we see in the last day or two, actually over the last 24 hours? Major news. Scientists at CERN turned lead into gold. And so I just wanted to highlight that scientists turned lead into gold. Diamonds can now be made in a lab, and Bitcoin is the only verifiable scarce store of value. Also, Bitcoin banks the unbanked. It's also exponentially more efficient. It's also verifiable and transparent, and it drives green energy tech. As we see more and more miners turn to essentially what is the best margin driving, profit driving mechanisms? Well, it's harnessing energy that is basically very low cost. Think about El Salvador harnessing geothermal energy off of a volcano. Yes, it takes you some upfront investment to basically build the systems to capture that energy, but then your profit margins are essentially indefinite, other than maintenance on those energy systems. But this is going to drive green energy investment. Not only that, Bitcoin is the most green industry on earth right now. I think it's like over 56% of all energy utilized is green energy. So these arguments that Bitcoin is bad for the environment, it's actually the opposite. It lowers the cost of energy for people that are in areas around miners that are installed on power grids that not only strengthen the supply of power, it utilizes all this wasted power that's been out there. It's, somewhere between 30 and 60% of all energy waste is wasted annually. Well, you can capture that energy. You can strengthen the power grid so you have more energy even available. And then if you have a big storm come through, like we saw in Texas a couple of years ago, now you can just turn off the Bitcoin miners. You have a much more robust power grid to serve the people around it. And because you're using all energy that is being output, you also lower the cost of energy to the people in that region. So Bitcoin is the asset of the future, and people are waking up to this in ways that you cannot even imagine. In fact, we're also seeing things on the economy that are only getting stronger. April CPI inflation falls to 2.3%, below expectations. I thought Trump was supposed to, especially with the tariffs and the trade war, I thought CPI was going to go up, all this freaking nonsense that the mainstream news media is just spouting, and we're only seeing a stronger economy. We're only seeing massive rebounds in the stock market. In fact, look at these rebounds. Since the stock market lows in April, Palantir up 53%, Tesla up 43%. I mean, you see these numbers. It is incredible. In fact, it is beyond that, because we can see, I even wrote this, damn, I hope you're all doing okay. This recession everybody was talking about because of what Trump's going to do to the economy, this recession is vicious. Well, it's only been vicious for those that exited their positions in fear. I know I've been buying. Have you been buying? Because this market is about to slingshot so incredibly hard to the upside. Let's make sure that we are in position. Now, what's going on with Bitcoin? So far, businesses are the largest net buyer of Bitcoin in 2025. This is incredible. The amount of flows that we've seen from institutions, corporations, businesses is incredible. And Michael Saylor is leading the way, making up 77% of the growth so far. And remember, they just upped their number from $42 billion raised to buy Bitcoin now to $84 billion. They actually even just bought another $1.34 billion worth of Bitcoin yesterday. They've been doing it basically on a weekly basis. I think they may have skipped 1 or 2 weeks in February, in early April, if I'm maybe February, I don't know. But nearly every week, Michael Saylor and Strategy has been buying Bitcoin in the hundreds of millions to the low $1 billion plus range, which is just incredible. Then we talk about Coinbase getting listed on S&P 500. Why is this important? Because when you enter the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or any of these major indexes, funds have to stack in on a relative basis to what your percentage is in that large index. And so when we want to look at this visually, what do we see? $15 billion in estimated coin purchases are going to come from this. Why? ETPs, exchange traded products, will have to allocate to coin. Mutual funds, institutional funds, insurance products, SMAs, they're going to have to allocate towards coin. And we also see exchange traded derivatives also will be allocating towards coin, which is Coinbase's ticker, COIN. And you can also see this breaking down here. When a stock is added to SPY, the indexer need to allocate. SPY companies are about $47 trillion in total. For simplicity, let's use 50 trillion. So Coinbase, being $50 billion company, will get 0.1% weight. Indexer assets under management is about 7.5 trillion in total. 0.1% of that means 7.5 billion minimum, plus short covering, momentum, plus active allocation. You're looking at $15 billion forced buy pressure in coin. And this is essentially not only being an amazing broadcast to the broader legacy financial system, even people that don't want exposure to Bitcoin. Well, now we're going to see pension funds, we're going to see indexes, we're going to see a broad array of different investment allocators having to buy coin. But not only that, the press coverage that this gives about the legitimacy of Bitcoin and the crypto asset class on the world stage. Brian Armstrong said it best. First they fight you, then they laugh at you. And remember all these SEC cases that were coming after Coinbase? And now they add you to S&P 500. We are seeing some magic going on with the world stage that is just inviting the star of the show on every stage out there, which is Bitcoin and the crypto ecosystem. So let's not get blinded and distracted by the FUD narratives that have come out periodically over the last few weeks, because it is a nonstop onslaught of overwhelming bullishness. In fact, we also see people like Raoul Pal, who is calling for $97 trillion in wealth creation in the next 10 years. In fact, let's listen to what he has to say real quick, because this is just magic. And this is real data.
This is the big one. This is your chance to make wealth. And not only can you make a bit of wealth, it's the fastest appreciating asset class in all of human history. So you can catch up really fast. So you just have to get involved and start that journey, but it will level the playing field for millions of people. So my view is it goes from a $3 trillion asset class today to $100 trillion in 10 years' time. So we're only 3% of the way there. And if you put it in different terms, that means there is $97 trillion of wealth that's going to get made.
Yeah.
People are going to make a lot of money, but it's not a few people. It's not like the tech barons or the bankers. This is like, well, Binance has 260 million customers. Now, you could lift 260 million people to change their lives. Okay, that's a big deal. There's 500 million crypto accounts around the world, so you can change 500 million lives.
Guys, the time is now. $97 trillion coming into the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem. I think it's actually going to surpass that over the next 10 to 20 years. You know, Bitcoin as a $30 trillion asset class, maybe 60, maybe $100 trillion. It is coming. Why? Because Bitcoin has a fixed total cap of the available supply. And we're so early in the ecosystem of adoption that this is on pace, already outpacing the speed of adoption of the internet, which would mean around a 10x in user growth between now and 2030, 2031. What do you think that does when we also see a 10x in institutional adoption, Bitcoin treasuries, basically strategic Bitcoin reserves, national Bitcoin reserves, state level Bitcoin reserves, corporate Bitcoin reserves? This right now, people thinking price is high on Bitcoin is the most ridiculous thing ever, considering the flood of new participants is just getting underway. So when we look at this and we zoom out, we realize we are pushing up right now towards this mega pump gateway at $110,000. We are looking towards those fib extensions up here at $164,000, and then eventually $204,000, then $242,000, and then into the $300,000, then into the $500,000 Bitcoin dollar range. In fact, I think we're nearing that time sometime in the next 3 years that most people are going to start to realize that we don't need to allocate what we're looking at in our portfolio in the US dollar values. We're going to say, what is the value held in terms of Bitcoin? That is the true flippening that I care about. I don't care if XRP flips ETH or if ETH flips Bitcoin. In fact, I don't think ETH will ever flip Bitcoin. Will XRP flip ETH? Maybe. But the question is going to be, what is our valuation and asset value, our net worth? How many Bitcoin does things cost? That's where we're heading towards. That's the flippening that I'm talking about. So when we get into some of these stories and we talk about $97 trillion in wealth creation happening in the next 10 years, and it's open access to you, to me, to whether you're in the Congo, to whether you're out in the Saudi Arabian desert, whether you're in the Sahara Desert, South America, this banks the unbanked. This allows free open access for anybody that has access in any realm to the internet, whether it be through a cell phone or a computer, whether you're trading at an advanced level on derivatives, or you just need a means of transaction and somewhere to store some value. Bitcoin and the rails of the future blockchain is going to change so many lives. And so right now it's time to lock in. So let's make sure we do that. The choice right now is yours. Do you want budget vacations right now? Because let's be honest, you don't have enough money to go and do what you really want. So you can go waste your money on budget vacations and wasted time, or you can have private villas later. That's what this is about. Not the private villas, but the access to choose what you want, to buy your mom a house, to buy your nephew a house, to pay for college for other family members, to live on your terms, not in the slave system that the fiat money system is, because they inevitably will always print, only devaluing how much time you've spent to trade for money. And if the dollar's worth less, they are devaluing your time. They're devaluing you every time they print. So while I do not like money printing, I am aware that is an inevitability. So I am going to stack into investments, Bitcoin and the crypto ecosystem, where I'm parking my investments, looking for that appreciation. You could do it in Vanguard or VOO or SPY or whatever, whatever index you want, Vanguard. But the point here is, if you do not invest, you are literally going to be buried by the flaws of the monetary system as it stands right now. You have to invest to outpace inflation. Now the question is going to be, where are you going to park that money? I know I'm all in on crypto, but that's me. Everybody has a different risk appetite. You might be 78 or you might be 16. Somebody that's 16 can take on a lot more risk. Somebody that's 78, maybe they don't want to, endure the volatility that is going to come as this market appreciates, right? But when we look at this and we realize the price right now, can it go higher? When we zoom into this chart right here from CoinGlass, large wallets, the big money players, continue to lead accumulation, but ultra large whales are cooling off. So what does this mean? This is a large wallet. It's over 10,000 Bitcoin. This is wallets with 1 to 10,000. This is wallets with 100 to 1,000. You see this, and you can see these when they're very blue. This means that they're buying. They're adding to their wallets. When it's red, it means they're selling. So this means dum-dums are selling, smart money stacking. Do you want to be a dum-dum, or do you want to be a part of the smart money class? That's the question here. And with on-chain data within the Bitcoin and blockchain ecosystem, we can see what the big players and what the dumb players are doing in this market. Let's use the data and stop being so enamored with this price go up or price go down. I don't give a shit who's stacking, who's selling. I want to participate in the stacking alongside the whales that already clearly have a good idea of how to make big money. So let's do it. Let's get into it. And then we see the altcoin market. The altcoin market just got a golden cross, just like we did back here the last time 4 years ago. Golden cross, what do we see? Mega boom in the altcoin market cap. We're just now getting an altcoin cross on beautiful support here, almost a double signal here. And we're in the same time, we're about to have money printing in the US. We're already seeing increase in global liquidity around the world. And this has marked the most beautiful forecast for where Bitcoin price appreciation is going to be following that global M2 money. And now we also see the altcoins perfectly setting up for that next leg to the upside. And beyond that, we're seeing coins like Injective in this falling channel with the inverted head and shoulders breaking out into a known zone. I talked about this zone. I talked about a little bit of a short-term hiccup here. Let it find its footing before the next move to the upside. And we see this broadly across the altcoin market with the falling channel, inverse head and shoulders, breakout. We're talking about a potential retest down to, a little bit further down, which would still be very healthy. And that would be right in this zone here. As it stands right now, let's go down to smaller time frame. This is looking like it's kind of building accumulation or distribution. Who knows? And this is very, very small time frame. If this were to make a move to the downside, I'm already going to be prepared. We outlined this back here perfectly. And this has come down just like we outlined. So as it stands right now, everything's kind of hinging on the hope about the China trade deal, what's going to really play out there, the hope about what's going on in the Middle East, the hope about the end of the Ukraine Russia war, and also what's happening with the Fed interest rates. There's an incredibly bullish outlook. While there's still some risk mitigation fears because of what we're seeing in the bond market, because of what we're seeing with a huge amount of hedge funds selling back in April, and they haven't gotten back in. So are they going to short to get prices back down so they can still participate in a dip buying opportunity? Is the market just going to run away without them? There's conflicting signals here, but within Bitcoin and the crypto market, there's kind of more of I don't want to say over bullish, but more bullishness and forward outlook. Just, let's ride this rocket, because the crypto ecosystem broadly just entered the world stage in a way that it never has. And it feels like nations and corporations are racing each other to stack into this asset class. The liquidity is going to be dominated by coming into Bitcoin. So know that. Altcoins are still going to perform well, but I don't think it's going to be the alt seasons like we've seen in the past. We saw a pretty nice run on the alts right here where the Bitcoin dominance did break down. But note, if you zoom out on this, it hasn't really broken down. It's just a move from the highs down to a known level of support. Until we break through this zone here, which is essentially the 60%, I would say 60% up to 61.5, 61.8. Until we clear this, we're still at strong risk, and it's a good risk, of Bitcoin still dominating the narrative. Now, it's not a bad thing. It just means you might have more time with alts. Now, in the area of alts, I don't think we're going to just get every single thing in the market just rip. I think we're going to have narratives throughout the way that take their turn running, and we need to make sure that we are aware of that. So we're not trying to, this one's pumping, so you jump out of yours that's dipping into that one that's already pumped, and then that stops and that dips, and then the one that you got out of starts pumping. You need to make sure you have an action plan. Realize that Bitcoin is going to dominate the show. We're going to see some massive growth in the altcoins, in particular altcoins, as we look forward. But I do think it's going to be somewhat narrative specific, and also a bit of concentrated liquidity and some of the top coins, because institutions are dominating right now. When we do get retail in, is retail really going to have that big of an impact? We'll have to see. Maybe only in the meme coin and low cap sectors of the market. I'm not entirely sure. But the point here is we are looking at some extreme bullishness in this market as we look forward. We sell in May and walk away. Well, we outlined that as a bit of a myth. We broke it down about on May 1st, how that there's 50-50 sort of, it's how we broke it down that it's essentially 50-50 one way or the other, whether it's actually good to sell a man and walk away or just hold, because it's only accurate about 50% of the time. So it's going to make a difference what happens with the trade war, what happens with the Fed interest rates, QE, money printing, all these sorts of things. But right now, the dominant trend is global money is the best example to outline what the correlation is for price action. And right now, that's to the upside. Bitcoin is going to be the leading signal for what's going to happen in the altcoins. And right now, as things are very bullish, I do think we're looking at a more bullish summer than bearish. So let's make sure we're finding our allocations. We ran a bit long today because we had Trump. We wanted to highlight some of that at the beginning, but big love to each and every one of you. We only got 29 retweets yesterday on the live stream, as you can see right here. This was yesterday, so we're not doing a giveaway today, but you got another opportunity today. We've got the live, where's it at? We've got the live stream right here. Hit that retweet button, hit the like button. I will share this in the live chat here on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got, look at that, 2,740 people. Everybody, just hit that retweet, hit the like button. That enters you to win. If we get more than 40 retweets, we will get the giveaway tomorrow, $100 USDT value. Shout out to everybody over on Rumble also that's tuned in. Big love to you. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. We just started this account about 3 weeks ago. We're in partnership with Rumble, so they're pushing our content, which is why we're getting 16,000 to 40,000 views a day over here. So shout out to everybody over here on Rumble. Big love to you. We got all the links to our stuff here. And shout out to, we are finally merging Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, and BitLab Academy. We are merging into one Discord, Discover Investments Group, DIG. And that link is right here in the description if you're on Rumble. If you are, I'm actually going to copy this and post it on the Twitter account as well. It's also directly in the comments, in the description of the YouTube group as well. But that's where you sign up. There's a free section if you do sign up through LBank, which we have that link directly right here as well. Trade with us, trade crypto with us on LBank. That link is right here. That gives you access to some of the trading content that we have in there for free. You just sign up through our affiliate link. And also, if you want to join our Discord, where we're going to be, we have all of our different portfolios from, Josh, me, DZ, Drew, TJ. And we'll also do portfolio reviews of you all. We also have member streams in there, content. Basically, everybody here at the Hit Network, from Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, BitLab Academy, all together in one spot with all of our alpha. Most of the mornings, Drew goes live, and I'm going to be joining him on that. So we're talking about what's going on in the market on a daily basis. We're sharing trade setup signals. I'm going to have a bunch of free crypto education content stuff there from the BitLab Academy in there as well. That link is right there. It's also pinned in the top of the live comments. So get in there. There's going to be a drawing, I believe, for the first 150 or 200 people that sign up. I think 50 people may be getting a lifetime membership. We're going to randomly draw those names, but we're just trying to get everybody all together in one spot. So there's a lot more alpha all the time, and it's great. So that is a link right there. Again, it's pinned in the top of the live chat as well. Big love to each and every one of you. I'm sending you over to Blockchain Basement now, redirecting you here on YouTube and on Rumble. On Twitter, you're welcome to head over there on your own volition. Big love to each and every one of you. I appreciate you. We'll see you in the next one. Adios. And shout out to Alexander G for the super chat. I appreciate you. $10 super chat. I really do appreciate you. I love all of you that are members here on the BitLab YouTube as well. I will be pulling stuff throughout the week and posting stuff for BitLab members. So you have access to that. For those of you that are subscribed on BitLab Academy YouTube, hit that subscription. Make sure you are subscribed. About 50% of you watch daily and aren't subscribed. Make sure your notifications are on, because sometimes even if you're not a member, I will post stuff public for like 5 minutes. And if your notifications are on, you'll see it. And then I'll put it back to private, so only members will have access to it. Once you're subscribed, you'll have that join button. It's about $1.25 a week. But all the super alpha is going to be there in the Discover investment group, which is right here. That link, boom, right there. Get involved. I love you. Oh, that's, did I have that up the entire time? Did not even notice that. My bad. I did not even notice that. My bad, guys, because I have 47 different things on my screen up here, but hopefully you guys could see all the charts and stuff I was sharing. Big love to you. I appreciate you. Adios. Over and out.